How you doing, everybody? Welcome back. It's LSP, and today we're going to be discussing Brewlabs. Now, many of you know that I've been back and forth with Brewlabs for some time. I've got a great bunch of guys over there, and girls, not just guys, and they're doing a phenomenal job, in the cryptocurrency space. And I've been meaning to talk about Brewlabs for some time, but I've never really gotten around to just kind of sitting down and going through the mechanics of what they are, what they do, and so on. So today we're going to be going through pretty much everything. We'll jump over to the chart as well, as usual. The analysis on the chart is going to be done in the second part of the video. If you want to just kind of skip to that, if you're already familiar with Brewlabs, you can do that. The chapter heading is in the description below. So let's get to it. So Brewlabs, what are they? Who are Brewlabs? What do they do? Right. Now, many of you, I'm sure, if you're in a bunch of other projects, you will know predominantly through the staking service that Brewlab offers. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's very easy to use. There's many projects out there that actually use Brewlabs staking platform, and it's, like I said, it's very easy to use. I myself use it for some of the projects that I'm already in. So that's predominantly what most people will know about Brewlabs, and that is their staking. But it's important to understand the services that Brewlabs offer, okay, and the reason that I feel they are a game-changing project, okay, is because they think way outside of the box. When I first started talking to Brewlabs, I was very impressed. They were on my radar for some time, but when I physically got to speak to the team at Brewlabs, I was very impressed, very, very impressed, because they're really thinking ahead. They're thinking ahead about how things are going to play out. They're thinking ahead in terms of the services that they're going to be offering. They're trying to build an ecosystem of services that are going to be used outside of cryptocurrency. So they're on the same page, in terms of the way that I think about cryptocurrency and how it's going to be evolving over time. So when we look at their services, they do auditing, right? Phenomenal auditing service. So if you have a smart contract and you want it to be audited by a solid company, Brewlabs is definitely one of those companies that do amazing auditing. Their engineering in terms of smart contracts and building dApps and so on, again, phenomenal engineering team, amazing developers. You guys know that there's a couple of other projects that I've always tutored the development team, and Brewlabs is no different. Yeah, there are groups of development teams with some of these projects that are absolutely amazing at what they do. Brewlabs is one of them. Yeah, their development team is phenomenal, right? Token bridging, which basically offers, it can offer communities new and established with a means to take their token currency cross-chain. We know going forward that cross-chain is something that is pretty much going to end up becoming the norm. Most people that just launch on one chain, I think that's just going to be a thing of the past soon. It will just be standard to launch on multiple chains. There's so many advantages to being able to do that, and obviously Brewlabs are going to be offering token bridging. The other thing as well is when you come across a service, right? And this is not Brewlabs specific, this is just in general, and something I want to throw in there. When you come across a service that is tailored towards making sure going forward all projects are doing the same thing, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, bridging, staking, yielding, all of these types of things are going to become the norm in cryptocurrency. So I'll give you an example with staking. What happened with staking was there was at first only a very select few projects that offered staking. And if you really do your homework, you'll realize that staking wasn't normal. It wasn't something that was, offered with every project. But more importantly, there's a distinction to be made between proof of stake and the staking that we're familiar with in terms of the way that we stake our tokens to get more tokens back. That's not real staking, but it is a service that is offered through Brewlabs, but also has become the norm now. So most projects, when they launch, if they don't launch with staking, are kind of not necessarily dismissed, but it's the first thing people look for generally with staking, and it will be the same with cross-chain. Now let's move over to dApp development. So Brewlab offers development services for clients looking for new and existing dApp concepts. Again, It's a great service. Blockchain services, okay, so they're blockchain specialists delivering a number of blockchain development services to their clients, and consulting as well. Brewlab offers consulting to guide you through your journey from conception to launch and beyond. Now, before I carry on, let me just address something, right? When we look at these services, right, I'm sure you guys can agree as well. There's many projects out there that pretty much do all of this, right? Not every project, but there are other projects that offer auditing, that offer engineering, bridging and so on, and consulting. Consulting is an interesting one because this is something that we're seeing more frequently, where successful projects are offering their services to up and coming projects that want to launch into cryptocurrency. So the question is, who's going to do it better than the next guy? Who are people going to go to? And this is very, very interesting and something that I really want to emphasize. Okay, there is room for a lot of services when it comes to consulting, when it comes to blockchain, engineering, and so on, right? But I want to emphasize again, the Brewlabs development team, okay, that are putting all of this together and that are responsible for creating some of these services that you see, are absolutely phenomenal. I can't stress that enough. Their team is very, very smart, right? So just because one person is doing a service, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good. Yeah, you have to look at the team. You've got to look at, how they present themselves, their track record, and so on. And this will give you a much better idea as to what that particular project is all about. And Brewlabs, like I said, solid project. So let's go over to the tokenomics. When I first looked at Brewlabs, the first thing that struck me was this. 4% BUSD. The second I saw it was 4% and not 10 or 8 or 15 or all of these, some of these higher numbers, I was intrigued immediately. The first thing I thought was, these guys are doing something right because they're only offering 4% BUSD. One of the things that I thought was, for them to only be offering 4% BUSD means that's not predominantly what they're trying to do. It's very easy to look at a project and say, wow, it's 10%, 12%, 15% BUSD. In my opinion, some of these much higher numbers, sort of 12, 13, 14, and 15%, sometimes more, it's not sustainable unless you have an immense amount of volume coming in from outside of your project, meaning from utilities and services, right, that are consistently being used to generate income, which is then used for, potentially a buyback and burn, for example, right? So it's like creating artificial intelligence. Sorry. So sorry, guys. Creating artificial volume, right? So when you're creating artificial volume to sustain such a high percentage, in reflections, it's not always a good thing. But when you look at something like this and you're like 4%, that's good because it's showing there's a lot of thought and time and effort gone into this. Brewlabs have been around for some time, so this is not just a new thing. But again, when I first came across the project, I was like, 4% BUSD. Yeah, these guys are smart. They're thinking, right? 1% goes to liquidity pool. I'm sure we're all familiar with 1% going to liquidity pool. That's pretty easy to understand. 8% buyback, so a buyback mechanism to help improve price action when required. Again, very familiar, sort of thing, buyback and burns, these types of things. Not dissimilar to a whole host of other projects. And then 1% goes to development, contributions to continue to fund the development of the Brewlabs ecosystem, right? And then we have some frequently asked questions down here. I'll let you guys go through that. Friend of Brewlabs, they have the Volcania dashboard, I believe it is. In fact, let me go to this one, Wallet Now, so you can kind of set up Wallet Now. And Wallet is let me go back. So basically, it's an advanced crypto portfolio monitoring solution. And it kind of gives you a snapshot of everything that's happening, in terms of your portfolio. And then we have Volcania, lots of more stats. And then obviously Rise Up, mission to make crypto space safer for investors for education and unique technology innovations. Education is something that you guys know I'm a massive fan of, and something that I've been trying to push in this space for a very, very long time. The more educated we are, the better. So any project that has a focus on education will always get a massive thumbs up from me and a massive tick. So earning with Brewlabs, staking, the vaults, NFT power-ups, reflections, airdrops, bond market, okay? These are all things And just to be clear, the bond market is an upcoming Brewlabs bond token. Okay, so that's up and coming, but not something that they offer at the moment. But there's many ways to earn with Brewlabs, and obviously, I'm not going to go into every little detail because ultimately we're going to be here for quite some time. But make sure that you come to the Brewlabs website. It's brewlabs.info. You can see it up here. To get a general feel for everything that they offer. You can go through their services. You can go through the earning, you can go through the tools that they offer. They offer an airdrop tool, a construction tool, a freezer to lock up liquidity as well. These are all services that are used outside of Brewlabs, right? So other projects come to Brewlabs and use their airdrop service. They use their constructor service. They use the freezer service, okay? Think about what that does, and all of these services are obviously charged for, right? And quite reasonably, in that respect. So all of that money is being generated from outside of the Brewlabs ecosystem, meaning it's not volume generate. It's not volume dependent, on buys and sells of the actual token. So again, think about that, think about what that does for the entire ecosystem, for Brewlabs as a company, Brewlabs as a project, and ultimately for the holders, right? So that's an overview of Brewlabs. I absolutely recommend you come here and go to the white paper, check out their roadmap. If you just click on their white paper, it's actually housed within the website. And you can see all the details of everything that you need. This is regularly updated when things change, which is great. So definitely come over, check out their white paper. And let's go over to the chart and we'll take a look at what Brewlabs is actually doing at the moment. So let's just stretch this out. Let's go to the daily and get a feel for what is happening with Brewlabs, okay? So you can see they had a pretty decent launch, and then obviously a really nice run to the upside, okay? We've since pulled back. This is not dissimilar to most projects, okay? We see this many, many times. There's no real difference in terms of, you look at maybe 10 projects, you're generally going to see this, projects that are, quite new, not been around forever, predominantly in the last sort of 6 months or so for projects launched, it's generally doing the same type of thing, unless it's insane and something else happened. Just general market movement from launch to where we currently are now. We generally tend to see this decent launch, nice run up, and then obviously a pullback, right? And when we look at this, we can see that the acceleration, this is let's just be frank, it's FOMO, right? People were piling into this. And just as a quick side note for those that don't understand what capitulation is, this is capitulation. Everything just dries up and then there's nowhere else for price to go but the opposite way. And obviously we had a bit of a rundown, and then it starts to accelerate recently with all the recent price action with what's going on in the sort of general market. And we've settled on this liquidity pool down here. All right. And let's go ahead and we'll just change this to green because it's buy side pickup. And we can see we had a really nice response away from that. You guys are familiar with the way that I do charting now, so we'll just kind of move on. But we ran into this liquidity pool and look at the aggressive reaching for liquidity, grabs it, picks it up, starts to go sideways. This drop and then sideways reaction is pretty much a fractal of the general market. Bitcoin, Binance, Ethereum, everything's kind of doing the same thing, and ultimately everything is waiting. The entire cryptocurrency space now is waiting for that next leg up, that next momentum shift to the upside, right? So when that happens, all of these projects, including Brewlabs, that are down at these levels at incredibly discounted rates, are going to start to really, move with the market as the market turns. And the ones that are good, the projects that are solid, the projects that have, a focus on doing a lot of different things and not just predominantly in the cryptocurrency space, are the ones that are going to be around for a very, very long time. So with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed the Brewlabs video. I will be continuing to update you on Brewlabs because they have a lot of stuff going on. From time to time, I'll be liaising with the team if I can, and if there's anything that I can, kind of share with you guys for upcoming projects, I say projects, but for upcoming releases that they have, obviously I will, but I'll continue to do analysis as and when something, looks pretty cool to share in video, and I look forward to giving you guys more videos on Brewlabs. Definitely check them out, guys. Right, so with all of that said, I hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day or evening wherever you are in the world, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next video. All the best, take care, and ciao.